Hey there, this is Audrey from New Jersey. I'm actually turning 25 today at the time this video is posted, so I'm quite excited. Thank you to this channel again for letting me share my crazy life story. And thank you to those who clicked on this video. How's everyone doing today? Before I begin, be sure to click on the subscribe button and like. It'll make the channel grow even faster and allow other people like me to share their stories too. Now let's begin with my story. Growing up, it's always been me and my mom. Well, until she remarried when I was 17. It was the first time I've ever seen her so happy, and I'm so happy for her to find what she presumed to be her other half. But little did she know that me and my stepdad never got along. I've tried to like him, but since the first day that he laid eyes on me, he hated me. I couldn't exactly place an exact definition on it. All I do know how to explain was that I could feel the tension in the air when he laid eyes on me. I remembered we were supposed to meet at a restaurant. When he didn't see us yet, he was smiling, but once his eyes were on me, something shifted. For the rest of the night, he barely even looked or talked to me. Yet, I never told my mom how much we both didn't like each other. Why? Because in her words, that man is the one. After they got married, we moved in together at my stepdad's house. I was surprised by how big his house was until I realized he's actually the owner of a multi-successful coffee company. Since he's the owner, he usually stayed at home and only goes to the coffee stores he owned if something major happened. Other than that, the managers would be the ones reporting to him. This is the opposite of my mom. She works as a nurse at a large hospital and would often get called to do random shifts. Because of this, it was rather awkward since I'm taking online classes in my first year in college. I was often stuck at home with my stepdad that I felt very awkward with. So to compact it, I often invited my boyfriend, who was Greg. Greg is older than me by 1 year and came by often, even though I told him that I needed to be informed ahead of time just in case. He never listened and did as he pleased. One day, he snuck in through the window and he was drunk and started to kiss me. "Greg, stop!" I shrieked, trying to pry him off of me. But because he's so much bigger than me, I couldn't even kick him off of me. I've never had sex before, and I definitely didn't want to lose my first time against my will with someone who I realized at that moment I didn't even love or care about. "You're drunk!" "Aw, don't be like that," he cooed into my ears. Then he pinned my wrists together and started to try stripping me with my tears flowing down. I thought that would stop him, but he continued. I closed my eyes, hoping this was all a dream, when I heard my door open. My eyes connected with my stepdad. I thought my stepdad would ignore my cry for help from the way he was staring at my almost naked body. I was just in my bra and underwear at this point, but when his eyes found mine again, it was like a switch went off. He dragged Greg's body off and started to beat him so bad that even I couldn't pry him off. I swore I thought my stepdad killed a man that day from how hard he was beating that man. But all I knew was how fast my heart was pounding seeing him save me. It was the first time I felt my body buzzing to life when I saw my stepdad. I thought this would be the turning point for our lives, but after that day, he continued to ignore me even more. I invited him out with me and Mom to go eat. It was the first time I've taken to him since our meeting, but he turned me down. And for some reason, that really upset me. So much so that when we were driving home that night, I lost control of the car after a drink with my mom in the car. When I awoke weeks later, it was then that I realized that we were in a terrible car accident. My mom died on impact because of the rain and the way that I had to swerve the car in order to avoid the other drunk driver. Shortly after, I fell into a really bad depression. I had to stay at a mental hospital and be on suicide watch as well. When I came out a few weeks later, I didn't bother to apply for a university either. I went straight to work in order to move out as soon as possible. Why? Because I killed my mom, who was the wife of my stepdad. He didn't even like me to start off with, so I figured it'll be in the best interest to do him a favor and move out rather than just get kicked out. After working for 1 year, I went on ahead to talk to him. He's in his office as usual, and I felt timid as I went up to his office and knocked on the door. "Come in." I can feel my heart racing as I pushed open the door. He looked up from his laptop and closed it soon after I came in to look at me. I swallowed, trying to find my courage as I held on to the hem of my shirt. "Hey, Dad." He narrowed his eyes at the name, and I quickly corrected myself. "I mean, Jack." He nodded, satisfied. "What can I help you with?" "I wanted to actually say thanks for everything you've done for me." I started off slowly. I had this whole thing rehearsed in my head, but now that I'm in front of him, I felt so nervous. I decided to just take a deep breath and get it all out. "I'm actually moving out next week, and I wanted to say thank you for—" He cut me off. "You're not moving out." I blinked a few times before realizing what he said. I chuckled dryly. "No, I am." "You're the reason your mother is dead," he hissed out. I swallowed, my eyes watering at his word. I hated whenever he brought that up, but he never did unless it's about me wanting to go outside with friends or a date in order to forget. I nodded in agreement. "I know, which is why—" Again he interjected. "You're not moving out. End of discussion." I hated how much I'm actually ruining this man's life. He wasn't even my real father, and he didn't even like me to begin with. Yes, I am. I owe it to your mother to take care of you, he growled out, so be a good girl and listen to me. You're staying here because it's my obligation. No, I'm not your obligation, I seethed back. I realized that my stepdad wasn't going to listen to me no matter what I say, so I turned on my heels. Forget it, I'm moving out. You'll be happy to know that I already found a guy that's letting me crash. I didn't get to finish my sentence before he yanked me by my wrist. I yelped in surprise before I realized he had thrown me onto the bed. I couldn't even comprehend it before he had caged me between his large body. He stared into my eyes, and just like when he saved me 1 year ago from Greg, it made my heart race uncontrollably. And I realized at that moment as to why. I'm in love with my stepdad. I'm in love with a man that hated me. Tears started to stream down my face at cruel fate who was probably laughing at me right now. Of all the men that I could have fallen for, it was someone that didn't care about me. I fell for the man that hated me. I started to thrash or push him off when his question stopped me. Do you know why I've hated you since I laid eyes on you when we first met? Because I'm not your real daughter and you don't want to ruin your perfect marriage with Mom? I whispered, chuckling, which is why I wanted to move out now before... No, because the first moment I laid eyes on you, I knew you were the one for me. He roared on my face. I almost thought I was hallucinating everything. My heart started to thump so fast in my heart that I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I didn't even know what to say, but he continued. I hated how the moment that my eyes found yours, I started to see the world in color. It was selfish, but I married your mother because it just seemed like the most appropriate thing to do. But she didn't make my heart race, you did. But I couldn't hurt your mother because I knew it would hurt you. So I decided to avoid you at all costs. Yet when you and your mother got into the accident and I ran to the hospital, I didn't even ask for her. I asked where you were. I asked if you were okay instead of her. I didn't even care about anything else but having you back in my arms. Then his lips crashed hard onto mine. I clung back to him, kissing him just as hard to let him know that I felt the same way. And soon after, we made love slowly and passionately. That night was the night that everything changed for us. It was wrong, yet I regret nothing at all when it came to him. He was the beast, and I was the beauty. The whole night we made love in different positions on the bed. It was as if we were trying to make up for all the times that we fought off the attraction that we clearly had for one another. It's also the same night that I decided to stay in order to focus on our relationship and where it'll be going from here. It's been about 7 years now since that night. I have to admit, I still have trauma, but my stepdad, my husband, helps me through each one. He never left me whenever I relapse or think about that night that I killed my mother. He never once blamed me for it either. We've been through so much, but I wouldn't change anything about it either. Some of you are probably wondering if there's some sort of moral to the story. Well, there is. It would be to live in the moment. Don't focus on what ifs, focus on what is. I could choose to forever live in the past and rethink what could have happened if I wasn't behind the wheel that day and allowed my mom to drive. I could have chosen to not look at the present and focus on the future, but I didn't, and neither should anyone watching this video right now. Do what makes you happy. It's the reason I decided to submit my story to this channel. I know that there would be some people that won't agree or find it disgusting that I ended up marrying my stepdad. But if I allow people to ruin my life, then I'm no better than allowing my past to control me either. To everyone who's scared and living in the past, I hope you will take this as your sign to move forward. Thank you so much for sticking to the end of this video. Before I go, I would love to share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. The question I have for everyone is, have you allowed your fears to overtake and run your life? How did you ever get over it?